I Stand on Your Word. That's one of my favorite songs by Jonathan Butler. As a matter of fact, when we get to the end of this lesson, I'm gonna show you how to play that song. The chords, anyway, the progression. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to another session of learning some of the basics of music and how chords, scales, and progressions are put together. Ministry in the music, what I call it. Okay, what are we going to talk about today? And this could be a quick one. I only have 11 minutes left on my SD card or my camera. We're going to continue from lesson 1. This will be lesson 2. Lesson 1, we talked about scales, the basic scales, the rudiments of a scale, and I introduced you to three of the major chords, the three major chords in a scale, the 1, the 4, the 5. We were in the key of C, so that was C, F, and G. Today we're going to show you how to build out all the 7 chords in a scale. Okay, so let's get started. Like I said, we're going to talk about the scale structure. We're going to also talk about accidentals, sharps and flats, and construct the chords, and learning a song. So, quick review. So when we look at the scale, and we go back to the key of C. All right, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Right, you remember that? Okay, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, how was that scale built? If you remember from lesson 1, on those steps, we talked about half steps and whole steps, semitones, we talked about the tones, semitone, when you go from one note to there, like from the C to the D, that is a semitone or a half step. So, and from D flat, C, D flat, yes, to D, that's another half step. So we got C, C sharp, D. Half step, which will make a whole step. So to build that scaled out, we started with C, whole step, half step. Then whole step, half step. So let's try it again. C to the D is a whole step, D to E, whole step, E to F, half step, F to G, a whole step, G to A, whole step, A to B, whole step, B to C, half step. So that is how we built out our scale. Whole step, half step, whole step, half step. All right, now, enough of the review, because I know you guys went back and studied and you rewind it, lesson 1, you got this down. So when we look at our scales, the thing that's very important to know, to understand is what we call accidentals, or sharps and flats. Okay, so when you raise a note a half step, that makes it a sharp. If you lower it a half step, that makes it a flat. I'll explain. So we have C. If I go up a half step or one semitone, remember that's C sharp. So that's how I made that a sharp. Same with D. D, go up a half step, D sharp. Same with F. F, up a half step, F sharp. G, up a half step, G sharp. A sharp. And we're back to C again. The same thing happens when we come back down the scale. So when I come down the scale, the exact same thing. If I go B and come down, and it's a B flat. And you say, wait a minute. You just played that same note just a couple seconds ago, and you called it an A sharp. What's going on? I hear you. Well, here's what's going on. It's all relative, because you're exactly right. Coming down, B flat, going up, A sharp. All right, so if I go A, come down, A flat, G to a G flat, E to an E flat, D to a D flat. So those are the accidentals, what we call it, so you can guys understand of sharps and flats. Now, why is that important? Because when we start playing out our chords, you're going to see here in just a second. All right, so when we talked about chords, you remember the chord is a combination of 3 or more notes played together. Now, within a scale, there's basically 3 variations of a chord that you're going to run across. The major chord, minors, and a diminished. All right, so let me show you what these are. If I just played the C, 1, 3, 5, that's a major chord. Now, if I lowered the third, the E, a half step, to E flat, now I have made this a minor chord. C, E flat, G. That's a C minor chord. You with me? C major, C minor. Okay, now, if I take the same thing, 1, 3, 5, and if I lower both the third and the fifth, it becomes a diminished. C diminished. C, E flat, G flat. Got it? C. If I lower the third, C minor. If I lower the fifth, C diminished. All right, remember those. Go back, here again, review it, study it, practice it, you'll get it. Now, let's walk through all the chords, because when you look at every note in a scale, we can make a chord out of. For instance, there's a C, C, E, G. If I move up to the D, I get a D minor. What? You said, how? Wait a minute again. How did I know that was a D minor? All right, let me try to explain this to you. If you look at the diagram up here, okay? So the chords in the natural keys in that column, basically, if you just play a major chord, forget about the keys. For instance, if I just play a D major, it is going to be D with a 1, F sharp is the 3, and A is the 5. It even sounds like the right chord, doesn't it? All right, but I'm in the key of C, and you got to remember the key of C dictates which notes I'm going to play. If you remember the scale in C, F wasn't sharp. F was played naturally, which means now when I play the D chord, I have to play the F naturally, or I drop it down 1/2 step, which hence, remember, if we lower the third a 1/2 step, that gives you a minor chord. So I have a D minor. The same thing for E. It's an E minor. Instead of E major, E minor, because that G, the A flat or the G sharp is not a key in the key of C. It's a regular G. So F, we know that one already. G, we know that one already. A, same thing there, A minor instead of A major, because there is not a C sharp or D flat in the key of C. So it's an A minor. And when we get to B, something else happens. Look what happens here, because a regular B chord would be a B, D sharp, F sharp. But neither one of those keys, remember, were played in the scale. So I'll lower both of them. And what does that give me? You got it. A diminished chord. So if we look at this scale, and this works in every scale. The 1 is always major. The 2 is minor. The 3 is minor. The 4 is major. The 5, major. The 6 is minor. And the 7 is a diminished. We'll get back to the 1, which is a major. Got that? All right. Okay. We're moving right along. Spend some time on that one right there. Spend some time. Okay, now, as I promised you, I'm going to now you play this song, like I Stand on Your Word, which is a good song because it uses a progression that we call a 1-6-2-5. What is a 1-6-2-5? And I'm going to teach these progressions later on in another video. But really quickly, just kind of give you the brief overview. It starts with the 1. I'm just going to play the bass, because if you hear the bass, you kind of get it. 1, which is C. What is the 6? A. The 2, D. And the 5, G. Let's try it again. The 1, which was C. Play the 6, A. The 2 is a D. And and the 5. All right, now let's add the chords to it. C, A minor, D minor, which is a 2, G, which was the 5. Okay, and this is how the song sounds. No matter what the situation, I believe, repeat it. No matter what the circumstances, I believe, I stand on your word, I stand on your promises, I stand on your word, I stand on your promises. My soul says yes, my soul says yes. There you have it, pretty easy. And also, if you look in there, there's just one kind of little tricky spot in that song where we used on the 4th line, we use a F minor. If you listen, we went right there. That was an F minor. I lowered the 3rd by 1/2 step. All right, there you have it. That shows you how you can now build chords out of every note in a scale. Okay, now take some time, practice it, go over it. The PowerPoint is connected. You can download that right here on my website. Got it? Listen, he who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the church. And you keep playing, keep practicing, and keep praising.